In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to add your own logo image to your theme. As you can see, here's a fresh installation of Divi, and it still has the standard Divi logo on it. To add a new logo, log into your WordPress dashboard and locate the Appearances drop-down menu, and then look for the Divi Theme Options link. This will open ePanel with all the theme options. Right at the top, under the General Settings General tab, is the logo setting. Click the Upload Image button, and then upload the logo image you'd like to use. I'm just going to pop in our Elegant Themes logo, and then click the Use for Logo button. As you can see, the URL to the logo has been added. You can also type in your URL manually if you already have your logo uploaded, and then click Save. And that's it. Your logo has been added. Here you can see it on the page. And that's how you add your logo to Divi. In this tutorial, we'll be going over how to create new projects. Divi separates projects from posts and pages, and projects will be displayed when you use the Portfolio module. For example, here's a portfolio I created using the Portfolio module. Within this Portfolio module is displayed my most recently added projects. So before you can use the Portfolio module, you first need to add some projects. So let's see how to do that. When you enable Divi, you'll see a new item in your menu called Projects. Click that, and click the Add New Project to add a new project. And give your project a title. You can add some content. You can create categories for your projects, which are separate from your post categories. In this case, I'm going to add it to the category I already had there. And then you'll need to define a featured image, which will be used in the Portfolio module. So click the Set Featured Image, and choose the main image that you'd like to represent this portfolio entry. Now you can also use the page builder to build more extensive and more dynamic project details, so you can always switch to the builder and use that instead. If you do not switch to the builder and use the default editor, you have a couple different layout options. Over here on the right, under the ET settings box, you can choose where your sidebar is aligned. You can have a left sidebar, a right sidebar, or a full width. So yeah, choose any of those. Those will not affect your layout if you're using the builder. They're only available in a standard project. So let's publish this. And then if we refresh our page with the module, Portfolio module, you'll see that a new item has been added right here. Now if you click into one of these, this is an example of a default layout with no sidebar. So I'm going to edit this and switch the layout so you can see the difference. You can see full width is selected. I'm going to change that to left sidebar. Now when you view the project, you'll see a sidebar has been added to the left, and the project details that you saw on the previous screen have been added down here below. You can also switch the sidebar to the right. Or just put it back how it started with no sidebar, in which case the project details will come up and sit on the right side of the image. And that's a basic overview of how you create projects. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add a mega menu to your navigation bar. A good way to think about mega menus is that they're drop-down menus within drop-down menus. So here's like a normal navigation bar, and I have all these drop-down menus. And you can consolidate these drop-down menus into a larger mega menu. You can do this from the Appearances Menus tab, so log into your WordPress dashboard, locate the Appearances drop-down menu, and then the Menus link. So here's the menu that I already created, that you just saw with all my drop-down menus. So you can take these groups of menus, these drop-down menus, and place them inside of another link. So here you've added this drop-down menu inside of another parent link. And you can do this with all of your drop-down menus like this. Now, mega menus support as many sub-menus as you like, and it always uses 4 columns. So in this case, I'm going to do 4 menus in this mega menu. So there we go. We have a link called Page Right Sidebar, and inside that are 4 different groups of menus. Now, in order to make it a mega menu, you're going to have to add a special CSS class to it. You can do that by clicking the Screen Options link at the top of your page and making sure that the CSS class option is available. Now, click on your parent link, your very top tier link in the menu. Look at the settings. You'll see you now have a CSS class optional setting. And for the CSS class, you're going to type in mega-menu. And click Save. Now when you reload your page, you can see that all those previous menus have been placed in one giant menu under this one link, the mega menu. And that's a basic overview of creating mega menus. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use Divi's post formats. Whenever you make a new blog post, you can choose from 6 different post formats that will tailor your post around a certain media element. You can choose from video, audio, link, quote, gallery, and then a standard article. So here's an example of each of those. Here's a video. You can see a video is being featured in the normal thumbnail area. Here's an example of an audio post format. It displays an audio player at the top, which will play an MP3 file of your choosing. You can choose link post format, which will feature a link, a quote. They'll put a big stylized quote at the top of your post. A gallery will be a slider of images. And then here's just a standard post with a thumbnail, title, metadata, and your post content. If you go over here, here's an example of just a bunch of standard posts. So let's try changing one of these to a different post format. So here I'm in the post editor. Whenever you create a new post or edit a post, look for the format box on the right here. Open that up and you can choose from any of the 6 post formats. You can see standard has been selected. So let's try changing that to video. Once you choose one of the post formats, you're going to have to add the media element to feature. So I've chosen video. Next, I'm going to have to add a video to my post. Now Divi will choose the first video from your post and feature that video. Luckily, WordPress makes it really easy to embed YouTube and Vimeo videos. So just go to a YouTube video that you want to share, copy and paste the URL, and then paste the URL into the post editor like that. And once you've done that, once you've selected video post type, post format, and you've added a video to your post, click Update. I'm going to refresh the page here, and you can see here that this post has been turned into a video post. That video, the first video in the post, has been selected and featured. Alright, let's try a new post format. Audio works the same way except with audio files instead of video files. So I'm going to remove this video, and instead I'm going to upload an audio file. You can do that using the WordPress media editor. Just click Add Media, and then upload your audio file. So here I have song.mp3. I'm going to upload that. Once it's been uploaded, click Insert into Post. You can see it's been added here. So I've added my audio file. I've selected the audio post format, and Divi is going to take that first audio file and feature it. So let's refresh. There you go. You get an audio player, and if you click that, you'll hear your song. All right. Next up is quote. So again, this works the same way. Divi's going to take the first block quote on your post and feature that. So I've clicked the quote post format. Next, I'm going to add a quote here. So let's say I want to create a quote out of this. I'm going to go to the visual editor. It's a little bit easier. So let's highlight your text you want to quote, and then click the block quote link up here, and that's going to turn it into a quote. If you're in the normal text editor, then you can just wrap your text that you want to quote in the block quote / block quote brackets like that. Okay, so once you've selected the quote post format and you've added a quote to your post, update it, and Divi's going to take that quote and feature it just like that. Okay, let's try gallery. Again, it works the same exact way as all the other post formats. Once you've selected your desired post format, you want to, in this case is gallery, so we're going to want to add a gallery to our page to feature, and Divi's going to grab the first gallery in the post and put it at the top of your post. So to add a gallery, click Add Media, and then you can create a gallery over here on the left. Click Create Gallery. Just select some images that you want to put in your gallery. I've selected these 3, and then select Create New Gallery. So I have a gallery. Here's my 3 images. And then click the Insert Gallery button. Here a gallery has been added, so we have a gallery in the post. We've selected the gallery post format. I'm going to update it and take a look. So here we go. I've just created a slider out of our 3 images. The final post type is link. So I'm going to get rid of this gallery. So link post format, it's going to grab the first link and feature it. So I've selected the link post format. Now I just need to add a link to my post. Select the text you want to link, click the link button. Just going to add a link to Google. Add the link. So I have the first link in my post is here. It's google.com. Going to update. Refresh. There we go. Add that link to the top of the post. And that's how you use the 6 post formats that come with Divi.
Welcome to Elegant Themes using the localization feature. In this video tutorial, you will learn how to use localization to translate your theme into various languages. We will use the professional theme for this tutorial. However, the process is the same for all Elegant themes. Please keep in mind that your screen may look different depending on your browser and whether you're using a PC or a Mac. For this demonstration, I am using a Mac running the latest version of the Firefox browser. Before we begin, it is important that you have downloaded the most current version of your theme. If you look in the main theme structure, you will see a folder called LANG, or language. If you do not see this folder, you will need to download and install the most current version of your theme. Updating your theme is beyond the scope of this tutorial. However, please visit the Elegant Theme support forums should you require assistance. By default, Elegant Themes provides 3 languages: English, German, and Russian. Although these are the default languages that ship with Elegant Themes, translating your theme into the language of your choice is not difficult to do. Now, let's navigate back to the language folder. If we double-click on it, we are presented with a total of 6 files. These are the default languages I mentioned earlier. For the language file to work properly, there must be a PO, or Portable Object File, and an MO file, or Machine Object File. We are going to work with the most basic functionality of the language files. The terminology, details, and how they work is beyond the scope of this tutorial. However, I encourage you to visit the link below, which outlines localization in great detail. Since Elegant Themes already has Russian as one of the choices, all we need to do is copy the language code. And now, head over to our wp-config.php file. Within the wp-config.php file, we need to navigate to the line that defines the language currently being used. If we look to the right of the wp-lang text, we see a double quote which is currently empty. Since the default language is English, there is no need for any codes. However, to translate the site to Russian, we will need to use the code we copied from the lang folder. Now that the language code is in place, we simply need to save this file and return to our site to see the changes. As we can see, the site is now translated into Russian. Since you will be translating the copy into your native language, posts and pages will remain in English. What has visibly changed are Home, Search, and the Read More button, among others. Another change is the posted byline, as you can see here. Suppose your language is not one of the 3 available. Not a problem. First, you would need to find your language code. This can be accomplished by visiting the link below. I will show you how to create your own .mo and .po files using a program called PoEdit. Keep in mind that PoEdit is a very powerful tool with many options, so I am only going to cover the basics. For more detailed instructions, please visit the PoEdit site at the URL listed below. The first step is to find your language code, which we discussed earlier. When opening PoEdit, you will be taken through a series of screens asking for pieces of information which will help create the correct code. The last screen you will see is the Translate screen, shown here. The left column is the current language, which in our case is English, and the right side is the translation column. In its most basic form, PoEdit gives you common phrases, which you will need to translate into your language. Simply type the equivalent phrases in your language, using the lower box. This will populate the right column, as shown here. And this is what a completed window looks like. Once you have completed these steps, choose Save to create the files needed for the wp-config.php file. Make sure the files saved are in the correct format. For example, if you were translating to Romania, you would name the files as shown here, making sure the .po and .mo extensions are present. Another example would be English, as shown here, again making sure the .po and .mo extensions are present. The only thing left to do is change the language code in the wp-config file as discussed previously. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very brief overview of PoEdit. I highly suggest visiting the site to learn the nuts and bolts of this program. This concludes using the localization feature tutorial. As always, if you should have further questions, please visit the Elegant Theme forums, where our friendly and knowledgeable moderators are standing by to lend a hand. Thank you, and have a successful day.
In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the blank page feature. Now, normally when you create a page using Divi, you always have your header, navigation, as well as a footer area with your footer widgets and your social media links. But if you want to create a page and remove these features, that can be done using the blank page feature. Some use cases for that would be, for example, a coming soon page or a splash page of some kind. You can see here the header and the footer have been removed to give focus on just the content that you've built on this page with the builder. So to do this, all you need to do when you create or edit your page is look for the page attributes box here, and then look for the template. These are the available page templates, and you're going to want to select the blank page. Normally, the default is the default template, which includes the header and footer, but if you select that blank page and then click Update, it's going to remove those items. And that's how you use the blank page feature. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use our single-page side navigation, as well as how to construct a single-page website using custom anchor links in your menu. Now, the single-page side navigation is great for long-format pages where users can get lost in all of the content. So a good example of a page where side navigation would be useful is actually our home page on the Divi demo. So let's enable it. You can enable side navigation on any page. When you edit the page, look for the ET settings box here on the side, and you'll see the side navigation option by default is set to off. So we're going to turn it on and update. And now when we load our page, you'll see that side navigation has been added here with little dots that represent each section on your page. So whenever you add a new section with the Divi Builder, it's going to add a dot here, and you can click on any of these dots to take you to the relevant section. Now, to take that a step further, if you're building a single-page website, you don't want any of your links on the home page or on the menu to link to anything other than your home page. You want it to link to different sections on your home page, just like these menus. So, for example, right now my menu is blank, all it says is home. Let's say I wanted to add a link to the menu that, when clicked, takes you down to this section that talks about the Divi Builder. So I want to add a link on our menu called Builder that, when clicked, takes us to the section on the same page relevant to the builder. Now, to do that, we're going to use custom anchor links that use ID tags. So you're going to edit the section and then use the CSS ID option to add a new ID, and then we're going to create a link that links to that ID. So let's show you how to do that. I'm going to edit my page. I'm going to scroll down to the section that talks about the builder, which is this one right here. Now, all sections have settings. You can see here the section icon, settings icon. I'm going to click that and scroll down and find the CSS ID option. So here you're just going to add an ID that represents that part of the page. In this case, it's builder. So just use something that's easy to remember. Click Save and Update. So I've edited my section and I've added a unique ID that represents that section, and now that we've done that, we can create a link that points directly to that section on the page. So we're going to create a new menu, so go to Appearances, Menus, and we're going to add a custom link. So scroll down here and look for the Links tab, and this will let you add anything you want to the link. So in this case, we're actually just going to link to that ID, and we're going to do that using a hashtag. So we're going to do /, then use the number symbol, and then type in the name of the ID you just added. So in this case, it's builder. So I'm just saying that when this link is clicked, take us to the section on the home page that has the builder ID attached to it.
and then choose some text for your menu, in this case, Builder. Add it to the menu. I'm going to save. And then let's go back to our home page and see. So now I've added a new section, a new menu to the a new item to the menu called Builder. When I click this, it's going to take me right to the Builder section on the same page. And now you can add as many of those links as you want. You can create new links that are attached to each section. For example, I could add a new one called Responsive, and then I could edit this section that talks about how Divi is responsive. And when you clicked Responsive, it would tell you all about that part of our product, and so on. And that's how you can create single-page websites using Divi.
In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Leads split testing and conversion optimization system. Now, if you're not familiar with split testing, the idea is pretty simple. You create different versions of your page with different content, color, or positioning, and then you show those versions to different visitors and collect stats to figure out which version of the page is most effective. Now, what makes a page effective for you might be different depending on the page, the purpose of the page. For example, if you have a sales page, the goal of the page would have people to purchase your product. If you have a landing page with an email opt-in form, for example, well, then the goal of that page would be for as many people as possible to land on the page and then end up subscribing to your email newsletter. And so in this case, I'm going to show you an example based on a fictional web design company. And the goal we're going to be trying to achieve here is to have as many people as possible land on our landing page and then request a free quote so that we can then turn those leads into clients down the road. And so here we have a basic landing page. We have our header here, our headline, and then we have some customer testimonials, and finally a call to action module down here with a button that says contact us to get a free quote. Now, considering this page, how do we really know that it's effective if we haven't tested it? Well, that's what split testing is for. We might consider adding different text to the headline. How might different value propositions in the headline affect bounce rate? Depending on how compelling this original message is, might affect how many people end up clicking this down button to read more. How might different testimonials affect a customer's willingness to become a client of yours? Depending on the testimonials you place here, some might sway the visitors one way or another. How might adding more or less testimonials, for example, or changing them up, all that kind of stuff can be tested. And finally, how might different colors affect a visitor's propensity to click the quote button? We could try different size buttons here, different background colors, and then different text within the button. All of these things can be tested as individual split tests using Divi Leads. And so in this example, we're going to create a test on what's probably the most important part of the page, which is the headline text here, because it's the first thing people see. It's what engages the visitors, and it's what's going to eventually drive them down the page, down to that sales button. And so heading back to our page here, this is the Divi Builder version of that page. We have a header, some text, 3 testimonials, and finally a call to action module. Now, to enable split testing for any page, you're going to want to open the Divi Builder page settings here, and then just choose yes for enable split testing, and then click save. And once you do that, Divi is going to walk you through the process of setting up your split tests. Now, each split test has 2 elements to it: the subject that you're testing and then the goal of the page. And in this case, the subject that we're going to test is that full width header, and so I'm going to select the full width header module as my test subject. And so as we create different versions of the page, we're going to be creating different versions of that full width header module. So I'm going to click proceed, and then just select the full width header module here with my yellow cursor. And then next it's going to ask you to select your goal. And anything can be a goal, just like anything can be a test subject.
Any section, row, or module can be used as both your test subject or your goal. And depending on the goal you choose, Divi leads will track different and relevant user engagement stats. So in this example, our goal is to have people click on the call to action button at the bottom of the page. And so I'm going to select that call to action module as my goal by clicking on it with my blue circle cursor here. And then all that's left is to configure the two different test variations so that we can begin our test. And so if we go back to the test here, you can see your call to action, your goal has become blue, and then your test subject has become yellow and it's been duplicated. And these are the two different versions that are going to be shown to different visitors as they land on your page. And you can create any number of different test subjects. So if you had 5 different headlines you wanted to test, then you can create 5 different versions, and each one will be shown to different visitors independently. And then Divi Leads is going to track stats and figure out how each version of this full width header affects the click-through rate of the call to action button down here. Just to make it clear what I'm trying to say here, let's say that you have a really good headline and a really bad headline. The really bad headline is shown to a visitor. They land on your page. The headline doesn't interest them. In fact, maybe it's irrelevant to what they thought they were clicking on, and they just click the back button right away. They don't even explore your page. They never even have a chance to read your testimonials and request that quote. Now, on the other hand, our very, very good headline, which is very catchy, it solves a problem for the visitor, gives a good value proposition, it's enticing, all these things that make a good headline. They see that headline, they go, wow, that's really interesting. I want to read more. They scroll down, they see your testimonials. Now they're very engaged. Oh, wow. This must be a very great company. And finally, they see that request a quote button. And now they're much more likely to click that button since, first of all, they've seen it. And second of all, they've actually been engaged in your page, all because that headline was much better than the terrible headline, which sent visitors running away. And so that's the basic concept here. And you can test anything. You can test the content of the headline. You can test different background images, different colors, absolutely anything. Because how powerful the Divi Builder is, because it lets you customize absolutely everything, you can also test absolutely everything. But in this case, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to have 2 different headers with 2 different headlines. I'm just going to change the text content, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to jump in here to our duplicated header. So we have 2 versions. This first version is the original one. It just says, welcome to our website. Not at all a compelling title. And so I think we can make some pretty big improvements to that. And so I'm going to head over to the second version, open that up, and then I can configure it independently. And in this case, I'm just going to change the title. I'm going to say something like, do you need a beautiful website? They probably do, since they're landing on a landing page for a web designer. And I can say, we can help! Exclamation point. That's much more compelling. It helps the visitor see that you can solve the problem. Uses a cool term like beautiful. And we might even want to add some subject text. So maybe I can add something like some kind of, let's see, I might want to talk about how many customers we've had in the past. So I could say, let's say I have a small web design agency. We have like 500 customers. I can say, find out why 500 customers choose our company. Okay, so now we've created 2 different versions of the header. We can preview them both here. So we have our first version, which just says welcome to our website, and our second version, which has a more compelling headline and a little subtext here. So now I'm going to save the page, and that's it. Our test is ready. In fact, it's already running. And as visitors visit this page, each visitor will be shown one of the 2 variations, and then Divi Leads is going to track stats to figure out which one is most effective. And because we've chosen our call to action module as our goal, Divi knows that there's a button in there, and to click to track clicks to that button, which is going to be the most important metric for us on this test. And once you start split testing, you can see that a new icon is added here. That's our stats icon, and if you open it up, it's going to display stats for this current test. Now, the test needs some time to collect those stats. You need real visitors to visit your website, and either click or not click the button depending on the version they see. And so you're going to need to give it time. And once a couple visitors have landed on the page, when you come back here, you're going to see some stats. And so here I have a completed test that we can use. So here we have our same exact setup here with both headlines. And here I'm just going to pretend that this test has some time to run. Let's say it's been running for 1 week. And when we click into the stats now, we're going to see some interesting insights. First of all, we can see the conversion rate right away here. We can see that the version number 1 has 43% conversion rate, and version number 2 has 42% conversion rate. So this welcome to our website version, this original version, it has 41%, and the new version has 43%. So the new version is out converting the original version, which is what we expected, but you never really know until you actually test it. So in this case, the test is validating our initial assumptions, but you might find that that's not always the case, which is why split testing is so important. If you head over to the stats here, now you can see some wonderful stats. These are the stats from the last 24 hours. You can see that the initial version, our initial boring header, has had 437 impressions, and 159 of those have resulted in a click on our call to action button, whereas our new version has received 184 clicks. So we've increased our conversion rate considerably. So that's very valuable to us. And we have some other stats too. We have reads, bounces, and goal engagement. And by the way, you can add and remove test subjects here from the graph. If you have a bunch of test subjects, sometimes seeing all 10 subjects gets a little messy here. You can also go back in time and see the last 7 days, the last month, and then all time. And so we have different stats here, and like I said, depending on the goal you choose, you're going to see different potential stats here being collected and shown to you. And the most important one is always shown first here, which in this case is clicks. But for example, if you had chosen the WooCommerce, e-commerce module, then Divi Leads would collect sales stats. If you chose the email opt-in module, then Divi Leads would collect form submission stats, conversion stats. And if you choose a module that doesn't have any buttons or any kind of form submissions, then they would just track reading rate. So reads are a little bit different than clicks. Reads just tells you how many visitors actually visually consumed your goal. So that just shows you how many people actually read your goal. So it means that they land on your page, your headline was enticing enough to lure them down the page, and then they actually read your goal. They reached the bottom of the page. That's kind of what it tells us. They reached your goal. They actually read it, and so that's what reads are. Bounces. This is the bounce rate of your page, and now a bounce is when someone lands on your page and then leaves right away. So they land on your page, they didn't consume anything, they bounced. And you don't want people to bounce. You want people to land on your page and then become engaged and engage with your content. And so the goal here would be to reduce the bounce rate. And the bounce rate is determined basically by a specified amount of time, and if the user lands on your page and then they stay on your page for a time that is greater than that kind of bounce rate designation, then they're counted as a non-bounced user. And you can adjust that timing, by the way. So by default, it's just a couple seconds. So if they land on your page and they stay there for more than a few seconds, then they're considered engaged. If they land on your page and they leave right away, then they're considered a bounce. So in this case, a bounce rate would be a very important metric for us, since our test subject is working with the initial thing that people see, the thing that's above the fold, and that really is kind of like the most important part of the page as far as bounce rate is concerned. So this is a great stat for us, considering our test subject. And then finally we have goal engagement. Goal engagement is a little bit different than the other stats because it only takes into consideration your goal. It doesn't actually consider the test subject at all. And what the goal engagement does is just tell you how engaging your goal actually is. So for example, if we have a wonderful headline and people are engaged by the test subject and they scroll down the page and they reach your goal and they don't click, it could be because the goal itself is completely uninspiring. So here, for example, if we chose a different button size or button color for our goal, that might affect goal engagement. And then when you're all done, you can end the test and pick the winner. So that's how you end a split test. You can either end it here, or you can disable split testing here, or you can right-click and choose End Split Test. And if you do any of those things, Divi is going to tell you that you need to select the winner, and this is the version that you'd like to keep. So if you have multiple things you're testing, Divi Leads has now made it clear that one is more effective than the other, and so we're going to keep the one that's most effective. And so we're going to select here the one with the highest conversion rate, and once you do that, the other versions will be deleted, your split test will be completed, and you can update the page, and now the split test is done. And next up, you can start testing other things. And so a really, really effective page can be created by testing, almost everything. So we've made one test right now. We tested one variable within one module, but there's so many other things we could test here. In fact, we could test different testimonials, and we could test different call to actions as well. This might be another very important thing to test. And one important thing to note about Divi Leads is that goals and subjects can be the same thing. So for example, if our goal is the call to action, but we also want to test our call to action, we can do that. And so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to split test this, and I'm also going to select it as my goal. And so we've created a new split test now, and our goal and subject are exactly the same, and so you can see it's been duplicated here. So now I have two different call to action modules, and I can start configuring them independently, just like we did for our header. And so for here, for example, I might want to test a different button color or a different button size. So if I come into our call to action module settings here, maybe I want to enable custom button styles and bump up the button text size. Maybe I want to change the background color. For example, I could do a green background color. And now we have two different call to actions modules, one with a huge green button and one with a small kind of like semi-transparent button. And using these two different versions, we might come to see that, well, this big green button just results in so many more clicks than the small, transparent button. I mean, that's something that might really be the case. And so, but you won't know until you test it. So here's another great example of a split test we can do. And in this case, we're not testing the content, we're actually testing different design elements. And so I could save this and update the page, and then now our new test is running. And over time, we'll figure out just how much more effective or less effective this new version of the button is. And so that's a kind of really basic overview of how split testing works. The system is quite simple. You choose your subject, you choose your goal, you create different versions of your subject, and then you let Divi Leads figure out how those two different or multiple versions affect the conversion rate of your desired goal. Now, there's a couple more things I want to touch on here, and that is over here in the Divi Builder settings, once you enable split testing, there's a couple different things to configure here. One is the bounce rate limit. Now, I talked about bounce rate earlier. A bounced user is someone who lands on your page and then leaves the page quickly. And we have a bounce rate limit here, and this is in seconds. So by default, it's set to 5 seconds. So if a user lands on your page and they leave within 5 seconds, they're considered a bounced user. But you can adjust that. So if you want to be a little bit more strict, if someone comes on your page and they don't stay for 15 seconds, you can consider that a bounce. Or maybe you want to be a little bit more lenient here and say, well, if someone lands on the page and leaves within 3 seconds, then they're considered a bounce. Next up is our stats refresh interval. This is how often Divi leads will refresh the statistics it's collecting. By default, it's set to hourly, but you can change that to daily if you want to, give your server a bit of a break, because it does have to, create these graphs and stuff. So if you're running on a shared host and maybe you're taxing your resources a bit, moving this down to daily could help, although it really shouldn't be a problem, but we added it there just in case. And a final thing, which is actually a really important part of Divi leads, is shortcode tracking. And what this does is allow you to create your own goals off the page you're testing. So just to explain this a little bit more clearly, let's say you have a sales page, like we had earlier, and the on-page goal is to get as many people as possible to click the call to action button. But that call to action button isn't the end of the story for us. That clicking the button doesn't necessarily mean that lead turned into a client or a sale. And so what shortcode tracking does is allow you to track off-page conversions as a secondary metric. For example, let's say you're selling a product through some unknown third-party e-commerce plugin, or you're using some third-party CRM system, and you want to track not only how often people click the button to request a quote or purchase your product. You want to figure out how many of those people actually turned into real customers or real clients, and you can do that using the shortcode tracking. So you can take this shortcode and place it on any page, and then that will become a new metric in the Divi Builder stats. So let's say you have let's say you're selling a product, and at the end of the sales process, users get referred to a thank you page. You could take this shortcode and place it on the thank you page, and then you could figure out how many people actually went all the way to the end of your sales funnel. And so that would track true sales. But it doesn't have to be sales. It can be anything. So that's kind of like the basis for this shortcode tracking.